I've always been patient, but patience has its limits. My ranch had a private access road that ran through a small stretch of forest, leading directly to my property. For months, HOA Karen had been driving her massive SUV along it without permission, leaving deep tire tracks, mud splattered across my fences, and completely ignoring my repeated warnings. One crisp Saturday morning, I spotted her familiar black SUV rattling down my road yet again. I stomped my boots on the ground in frustration. I had left polite signs, called the HOA office, and even tried to reason with her face to face. Nothing worked. Karen acted like the road was her personal driveway, and she clearly believed HOA rules didn't apply to her. That day, I decided to take action. But I wasn't about to confront her directly. No. This required a little creative engineering. I knew the terrain, the soil, and the water table better than anyone. With a rented backhoe and a full morning ahead, I dug a modest but strategic trench across the most vulnerable section of the road, right where her SUV would have to cross. The trench wasn't lethal, just enough to give the road a surprise. I added loose gravel and mud to make it even trickier. By late afternoon, the setup was ready. I went inside my cabin, keeping an eye on the road through binoculars. Sure enough, within an hour, Karen appeared, SUV roaring and wheels spinning. She didn't even glance at the private property. No trespassing sign I had strategically placed earlier. As she hit the trench, the front wheels dropped in with a loud crunch. Tires spun helplessly, mud flying everywhere, and the SUV sank just enough that she couldn't move forward or backward. Karen screamed from the driver's seat, pounding the steering wheel, muttering about illegal obstruction and neighbor harassment. I walked out calmly, hands on my hips, binoculars dangling around my neck. "Having trouble, Karen?" I asked casually. She turned, wild-eyed. "This is illegal. You can't just block a road." I smiled. "Technically, it's my private road, and you've been trespassing here for months despite repeated warnings. I'd say it's just preventive maintenance." Karen fumed, calling her HOA friends on speakerphone while I leaned against my fence. "I demand you call a tow truck. This is harassment." The tow truck arrived about 30 minutes later. By the time they pulled her SUV free, Karen's clothes were mud-stained, her hair a mess, and her ego completely demolished. Neighbors had gathered along the fence line, secretly amused by the spectacle, whispering about how Karen finally got a taste of her own medicine. The aftermath was satisfying. I left the trench intact for a few days, as a gentle reminder that my property is off-limits. Karen submitted a formal complaint to the HOA, but my documentation, including photos of repeated trespassing and warning signs, made it clear that she was in the wrong. A week later, the HOA contacted her, informing her that any further trespassing could result in fines, legal action, and a permanent ban from my property. Karen sulked quietly at the next HOA meeting, no longer daring to assert herself over my ranch. The moral? Sometimes, subtle, creative action speaks louder than words. And in Karen's case, the combination of patience, planning, and a well-placed trench finally taught her that private property is exactly that, private. From that day on, my road remained clear, my fences pristine, and Karen, well, let's just say she now takes the long way around every time she visits.